I am surprised, and I figured this out this morning. I looked at the standings, that the Mets had a better record than the Astros. That was like, whoa.
Everybody, and welcome to the Inside Scoop, along with Ken Rosenthal, our insider, of course. I'm Alana Rizzo, taking over for Scott Braun here with AJ Pierzynski and Eric Kratz. So, Ken, I'm not starting this segment with the Dodgers because I'm a Dodger homer, although Eric Kratz would like you to believe that. You, my friend, wanted to start with the Dodgers pitching injury woes. Gavin Stone, the latest to hit the shelf.
Actually, I wanted to go a little bit broader than that, Alana, and kind of piggyback off the conversation AJ and Eric were just having, in which they were saying accurately that youth baseball is part of the problem here with so many injuries. However, I hear this all the time from GMs and baseball ops people. In my view, that explanation, that thought is a bit of a cop-out. And it's a bit of a cop-out because it ignores what is going on at the big league level. Now, what Eric and AJ were saying about guys wanting to compete and compete to the fullest, even if it means getting hurt, absolutely true. Will teams push guys trying to get maximum performance until they get hurt? That is also true. So in my view, what needs to happen is what happened when the game was too boring and not enough action. It had to be legislated. And I don't know what the answers are in terms of legislating new rules to effectively force pitchers not to throw as hard. But in my view, that is the only solution. And then things will trickle down to the youth level. It doesn't start at the youth level. It starts in the big leagues and everyone trying to emulate what is going on in the big leagues right now. So while I appreciate what those guys are saying, what they're saying is actually quite accurate, in my view, the solution is not to start at the youth level. It's to start in the big leagues and then go down.
Who's tasked with coming up with this? Major League Baseball? Because then they're going to be accused of tamping down players' salaries because pitchers are like, I can throw harder. Major League Baseball doesn't want me to have more success.
No, I don't see it that way at all, Eric. Now, Major League Baseball and the union would have to agree on rules. Obviously, MLB has the ability to implement rules after a year's time. The technical part of that we don't have to get into. But my point, and what Jason Stark and I wrote about earlier this year, was bringing back the starting pitcher. And if you do that, you're not taking away people's money. No, you're enhancing the value of that particular player again. And instead of having a shuttle of pitchers going back and forth, relievers up and down, back and forth, then you'd have starters reestablished, more orderly bullpens, and people would be making their money still. I understand that's a legitimate concern, the financial part. And obviously, baseball always wants salaries lower. But what they should want here is fewer pitchers getting hurt, number one, and the reestablishment of the starting pitcher as a really prominent part of this game. And both of those things are not being addressed properly right now.
Ken, this is AJ. First time, long time here on Fair Territory with you and Alana. Alana, I'm happy that I finally got invited to join Fair Territory. Thank you. It's truly an honor here.
You're often mentioned. You're just not often invited, AJ. You're often mentioned.
Thank you. Well, long time, first time, Ken. Long time.
Twice.
Yep, twice. Well, Ken, I just want to ask you about your game this weekend. How was the White Sox-Red Sox game?
It was terrific, but I wasn't there.
Oh, that's right, because you're the dork of the week because you opted out of that game for a game that actually mattered.
Now, AJ, I did something on our show, Alana and I, the show we hosted on Thursday, that I don't know that I've ever heard you do, which was take responsibility for my actions. I took responsibility for my actions. I fully acknowledge that I bailed on you. And actually, I don't know that I mentioned this, but you predicted I would bail on you. And I said, no, AJ, we're good. And then, of course, I did bail on you. So, yeah, I was dork of the week for that. That's fair.
You know what? Ken is the only one that has his own flex scheduling. He just decides, I get to pick this. Screw the NFL. I'm going to pick whatever game I want to do.
Mm-hmm. True. So, Ken, tell me about the Rays.
Not exactly true.
Ken, tell me about the Royals and the Twins. What'd you see on Saturday? What'd you see this weekend?
Great game. I wish you could have been there doing analysis because it was really a fun game, and we had some interesting things happen in the late inning. And Bobby Witt got a big hit, and the crowd was alive. And wow, it was some really good baseball. Actually, not so good by one of your former teams. The Twins were not good.
Okay. Well, tell me about it. They're both going to make the playoffs, it looks like, and the Twins are leaking oil more than the Royals for sure. But, I mean, tell me about the Twins because they've been making errors. They haven't been hitting. Their pitching has kind of gone south.
even like they're bringing in Durant at the end of the game. He's giving up big hits. So what's going on in Minnesota?
They're a bit of a mess, honestly. And one issue, perhaps the main issue, is the injuries that they have sustained. Correa, Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton have only been on the field together in 17 games. That's astonishing. Those are their three best players. They lost Joe Ryan as well. The thing that they haven't done is supplement themselves when these things have happened. Now, of course, you cannot replace players like Correa and Buxton. They're just too good. They're superstars. But they're down Kepler now, and they're playing all these young kids, and it's too much. It's too much for a team in a pennant race to be doing. And I mentioned this on my show today on Fair Territory that the Royals went out and claimed Tommy Pham and Robbie Grossman. At that time, the Twins were behind them in the standings. They could have had those guys, either one of them, if they had claimed them, and they chose not to. They were also rather inactive at the deadline. For whatever reason, this is how they've operated, and Rocco Baldelli, it seems to me, and he had a bit of a, I don't want to say tantrum, but he had a bit of an eruption yesterday after the game, just talking to reporters. He gave them a statement and was out because he is very frustrated right now, very upset with his team, to the point, AJ, where I cannot remember seeing him like this. This short-fused, I guess would be the right word to put it. And it speaks to their frustration right now. It speaks to the team's kind of reeling situation, and they're not in a great place.
Frustration isn't normally associated with one event. It's a building. It's a culmination of what's been happening. Is there any voiced or mumbled under their breath frustration that there was no moves made? You can say as much as you want about, oh, we love this team. This is the team that we're going to win with. Is there any frustration with that? And maybe that kind of added to Rocco's frustration?
I can't totally speak to that, Eric, because I haven't been around that team enough. And that's something for a beat writer to answer. They would know from the day-to-day vibes. I was around them basically 2 days here, and they were in the middle of these games. It was a big series. This was not a topic. But generally speaking, you guys know this. You guys were players. When a team does very little at the deadline, after doing very little in the offseason, players generally get frustrated with that. Players generally feel, hey, we're busting our humps out there. The front office should be doing the same. And you've heard from time to time different heads of baseball operations say, we need to honor the effort of our players by doing what we can to make the team better. They've had some financial questions around them because of their local television revenue situation. So have the Royals. And the Royals have operated much differently than them over the past years. So I don't know how much of that is playing into Rocco Baldelli's particular frustration right now. Would not surprise me if it was.
Ken, have you ever seen Rocco do this? Because I've been around Rocco as a player, played against him. He was a coach for a long time. Then now he's obviously the manager. And I've done a lot of Twins games over the last 2 years. I've never seen him get mad, be frustrated. Everything is always sunshine and happiness, and we're great, and every player is just so happy. I mean, I get the frustration, but I mean, he's got to be on a different level for him to actually not only step like, listen, on your players, fine, but then to do it where one, people can hear it, and then to take it out on the reporters, which he's never done. This has to be a different level.
Well, I don't know that I would say he was taking it out on the reporters. My understanding was he just gave a statement, and that was all he had to say that day. That's not really an aggressive tone.
But what I mean, no, I'm not saying that. Sorry. But no, normally he'll talk your ear off, right? I mean, you've been in his manager.
And
he'll talk your ear off, and everything is sunshine and happiness, and we're good, and we're going to be great. So for him just to go in there and give a statement and walk out, that's more what I meant. Not that I'm saying like he screamed. He didn't go Hal McRae and throw the phone at Ken Rosenthal, which would have been awesome, Rocco, if you would have done that. Cut his eye. He would have had to come in with he had a bow tie on his eye. That would have been amazing.
To answer your question, I'm with you. And I have not ever seen Rocco, going back to the days when he was a prospect, act in any way negative, frustrated, whatever words you guys want to use, ill-tempered. He is an even-keeled individual, and to hear some of the things that have gone on with them over the past week, remember the Royce Lewis situation? There was some back and forth there. It's just not like him, for sure, and it's a reflection, obviously, of where they are.
Congestion from sinuses, allergies, or a cold can be all-consuming.
That includes snoring for me. But Scotty, I found some relief from Navage Nasal Care. You've got to try this. Navage makes breathing easier. My Navage unit is a game changer for clearing my congestion fast.
Yeah, Kratz, Navage uses that smooth saline flow and nasal suction to clear those nasal passages.
It works for me, Scotty. I've noticed a huge difference since I started using Navage. I'm breathing better and the whole family is pumped that I've got the snoring under control.
We want to help you get relief from your congestion too. Our listeners can order a convenient Navage starter pack, including a nose cleaner with batteries included and 30 original salt pods. Everything you need to get started. Plus, get a cleaning kit as a free gift with your order, but only going to our exclusive URL, navage.com/FAL, and using our promo code FAL. Again, to order your Navage free cleaning kit and for full product details, go to navage.com/FAL. That's promo code FAL at navage.com/FAL.
Ken, we're going to go to Justin Verlander. Sure ballot, first ballot Hall of Famer. One discussion we've had on here a lot is, does Joe Espada go to Justin and say, sorry, you're not in our playoff rotation if things don't change this month?
If things don't change this month, absolutely. And that's a conversation I would expect Verlander would understand. But I'm not giving up on this guy yet. The Astros are not giving up on him yet. He is who he is for a reason. He has come out of things before. Now it's different. He's 41 now, and we all understand he's coming off an injury. This was, his fourth start last night, and he has talked about how he is in spring training mode. Last night, as he called it, the results were atrocious, and we all knew that. He felt his stuff was okay based on what I read this morning. Okay. It's back to the drawing board, as he has done so many times in the past. He will look at video today, try to figure out what was wrong, if anything, and then keep going. Now, time is of the essence here. We're running out of time, and clearly, when you have Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, and Kikuchi pitching as well as they have, and Arrighetti at times pitching well too, then you have a situation where if Verlander does not improve, sure, they would have to make that decision. I don't expect that he would bully his way or try to bully his way into the rotation. He is pretty realistic in most situations and circumstances about where he is. And I would expect him to be, again, the variable here is whether he can bounce back. And again, it's really difficult to bet against Justin Verlander. At some point it will end. We all know that. But until it does, I'll wait and see.
Ken, sticking with the Astros for just a moment, what surprises you more, that the Mets have a better record than the Houston Astros do, even with DeGrom and, of course, Max Scherzer rehabbing, or the fact that the Astros were able to really get to where they are? I mean, both the Mets and the Astros were written off at some point this season by the so-called experts, and the Astros probably win the division. The Mets could very likely get in.
I am surprised that I figured this out this morning. I didn't figure it out. I looked at the standings, that the Mets had a better record than the Astros. That was like, whoa. And I know the Astros have had a great run. Well, so have the Mets, both since about mid-May, roughly. The Astros are not a surprise in the sense that we know who they are, and they've done this before. However, at 12-24, I've mentioned this. I wrote a column saying, is this it? Because it sure looked like it was it at that point. Kyle Tucker, was still healthy at that moment, and they were not playing well at all. 12-24. The Mets, after trading Scherzer and Verlander, after having the offseason that they did, when they kind of just patched things together, went short-term on some starting pitching, I don't know that I'm shocked that they're here, but given the way they were in around mid-May, I'm a little surprised they came out of it as well as they did. And I mentioned this, I believe, on Fair Territory today as well. Joel Sherman of the New York Post wrote a really good column over the weekend detailing how David Stearns and Carlos Mendoza made some adjustments on the fly. And Stearns excelled at this in Milwaukee, and they did it again. Iglesias coming into the equation. Mark Vientos coming up from AAA. Some moves in the bullpen. They have done a great job in coming out of it and getting to this point where they are right there. Now, will they get there? It remains to be seen. It's basically 4 teams for 3 spots right now. Padres, Diamondbacks, Braves, and Mets. They're all closely bunched together. The Mets have 3 left against the Braves in Atlanta. They also have 7 left against the Phillies. So it's not going to be easy for them. But they have played extremely well, and it's a credit to Mendoza, it's a credit to Stearns, and it's a credit to their players. Because it's a tough place, New York, when things aren't going well. We all know this. And teams often can or will go south in those circumstances. The Mets kind of steeled themselves and said, we're going forward. And that's what they've done.
Okay. That leads me perfectly to the last question we have for you today here on Fair Territory. Will the Mets or Braves get the last wild card?
I'm going to go with the Mets. And it's interesting. Fangraphs has the Braves.
Wow. Claudia's
much
cutting
higher.
now.
Fangraphs has the Braves with a much higher playoff odds. I think it's something like 75%, and the Mets are at 50%, which is weird because they have the same record. And I went back and read this morning an article explaining their calculus and how they figured that out. It comes down to schedule. It comes down to the fact that those 3 games between the Mets and Atlanta are in Atlanta, and it comes down to the Braves have better starting pitching. Okay, I just love the Mets vibe right now, and I know that's a word that gets overused, but it's meaningful at this time of year especially. And the Braves, they're fighting, they're clawing, they're doing everything they can. And yes, they do have the superior pitching top to bottom, including the bullpen. But I just feel like the Mets are going to get there. Now, the real question to me is, do either the Padres or Diamondbacks fall back enough for both to get in? And we'll see.
Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal, we always appreciate your insight here on the Inside Scoop. We'll see you next on Fair Territory, your show on Thursday, unless you join these foul guys before then. Looking forward to talking more wild card race. What's that?
I just want to know one thing. If AJ was satisfied with the answer I just gave, because he claims that I never give answers.
I'm just very proud that you actually answered. Normally you answer a question like that with, well, as a Hall of Fame voter, I'm not allowed to answer those kind of tough questions. I know. I was in my heart. My heart skipped a beat. We'll see you in Cleveland on Thursday, right?
No, I'm not going to be there.
Oh, yeah. Shocking.
He's checking in on that flex scheduling again. All right, Ken Rosenthal, we appreciate you. Fair Territory, or Foul Territory rather, continues.
Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.